media pages, including Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, and also Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all those places that we are, because being in multiple places is more important than ever here, for sure, given when stuff works or doesn't work or sometimes works or pretends like it's working. But we'll be on air and all those other places. So anytime you're wondering where we are, KTSMradio.com, social media pages, all that fun stuff. So a lot to talk about here today. Of course, it is El Paso Giving Day. Talked a little bit about that yesterday, but it's really kicked off in earnest today. So point being, if you have an organization that you like at all, and they're registered for this, now is the time to do something about it. If you haven't already, there've already been a lot of awards going by for it, but again, Super Bowl for charity and nonprofits in town. So really, if you want to talk about impact in our community, this is an important one. So again, El Paso Giving Day, search that up in your favorite browser, find the website. And it's not just about time. Well, it's not just about money, but also about time. So that's an important one. As we have Calvin Williams joining us over on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Talk El Paso. So, I mean, yeah, just minor challenge, to consider it if you will, to go and donate even just $10 to whatever your favorite organization is, and search it on the platform, or a couple hours of your time. Either way, helping out in our community, which is very direct. But speaking about other very direct things in our community going on right now, we've talked a bit about the elections going on, and mostly, well, the Texas side of elections here, which we're going to be doing more coverage of in the coming days, particularly as we get closer to full-on election day. But there are plenty of other places and other issues on the ballots within our region as a whole, including what's going on in New Mexico. New Mexico has its own slate of regular elections, and it's a whole long list of it here. We've been getting some notes about some of the smaller aspects of it here, and they have their own school board election going on, which is not to be missed. But just going through, well, within the Doña Ana County area, pretty much every municipality and a whole lot of other organizations and government areas. I mean, this is the list, if you can see it here on our social media. This is the list of what's on the ballot here for this coming election. It's 2 full pages just listing each municipality and what's on there. So if you are at all, and I do mean, and this is just the elected officials for that matter here, there's more bonds on it as well. So there are just so many things that are being worth paying attention to, and we'll break down that here in just a little bit as well. But one thing that I wanted to get into on a slightly more Texas-specific issue is that of Texas Attorney Ken Paxton kind of doubling down on, well, an interesting aspect of what has come out of border security issues coming up recently, a renewed focus on a federal side of wall issues, I think is the best way to put that, because there's obviously been some of those things about policies, specifically previously, mostly centering around whatever's going on with the Migrant Protection Protocols, MPP, so-called Remain in Mexico policy. After having gone through its own bit of court fun there for a bit, and now having ordered to become back into place. Again, it's just like, it just really smacks and reminiscent, but in a different political direction, obviously, of what happened with the whole DACA program. But I digress. That one is coming back, the actual MPP, basically Biden administration saying, as soon as we can get Mexico back on board with it, we'll do it. Okay, kind of believe it when I see it, because they were not exactly enthusiastic about it. And even if there wasn't anyone particularly happy about Title 42 being the only program remaining, there's going to be even less people within the president's own party. But again, details at this point. Specifically, what Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton is focusing on is kind of a similar tact, but again, with border wall construction itself. The release saying that he is co-leading the lawsuit with a Missouri Attorney General, Eric Schmidt, demanding that the federal government continue to build the border wall using the funds Congress has already appropriated for it. So, again, in a similar kind of vein to the whole lawsuits and continuations of programs, but this one literally being in action as opposed to just a policy in place. So not sure if that's going to have the same kind of impact. It would be interesting to see. I'm not aware of, even within the previous administration, where construction was forced to continue. I mean, there were the whole kerfuffles over the funding and the bills and the moving of funding that we heard way too much about during that administration. But when it came down to, yes, the actual appropriated part that did come up of it, I think around 700 miles was the sum total that was put up there. the interesting part is that he goes back further on to mention here is that the Department of Homeland Security's termination of construction contracts is not only unlawful, but it goes against their own research that concluded the border wall, actual physical barriers, not just border security technology, extraordinarily effective in controlling illegal immigration, drug trafficking, and all the costs that go with it. End quote from the statement here. Paxton has his own quotes in there as well. So this is an interesting. So I went ahead and looked into that research being looked at, including some things updated about a year ago now from the Department of Homeland Security on research about the wall, and that's where I got that roughly 700-mile figure that we're talking about for those portions of it. And it's interesting, but at the same time, it kind of deals with part of the issues that come with anything that is solely border focused when it's talking with illegal immigration, and that it doesn't account for people coming in through other methods. But it kind of a side issue when it comes down to our area. Of course, we've had a barrier within our region for decades now, probably my entire life, if not a little bit more, because it's been here. And that was part of the focus in what some of the Department of Homeland Security research from that era anyway was pointing to, about particularly focusing on urban areas. And really, the analysis came down to the idea that encounters dropped within those regions, which is a metric that is not of no import, but at the same time is a little unsatisfying to me, I will say, because it kind of comes down to the problem of, well, when we have new reporting methods or things that are focusing on issues, or reports go up. Does that mean more of it's happening? No, it just means that you're finding it better. So, I mean, just think about it. Whenever you're building an actual physical barrier, and that being your primary focus, then people aren't going to necessarily go through that physical barrier. But if it's not totally complete and stalwart and uncrossable in any other way, they're going to go to those other sections is part of the problem, and why I find the stats as put forth by the DHS to be a little unsatisfactory, and why I'm still going to be in favor of, when it comes to securing the border, including particularly a technological solution, because they're force multipliers. But really, the force is what it comes down to being the important part. Even after what we saw in Del Rio, it ended up being very important to have the manpower and the physical resources available there, even as they built that makeshift, however you want to put it, the vehicle wall that I thought they should have gone end to end, but not side to side. But yeah, I don't, I'm not in charge of these decisions. Clearly no one that listens to the show is either. Well, maybe they are, but maybe they should listen a little bit more closely. But point being that this lawsuit would be an interesting change. Again, everything else along this lines, including the whole DACA, DAPA, MPP, that whole thing was about policy, about putting things into then what the process is. But this will go literally back to construction. So in my mind, being a little bit more complex and maybe a little bit more dubious to actually move forward. But hey, they seem enthusiastic about it. So we'll see what comes out of it. In the meantime, coming up on the need for a break here right now. But once we come back from the break, we'll definitely be getting to more of the issues on the line here and more of those election things. Did I mention that there are more bonds in our region? Yeah, we'll be getting into that and a whole lot more coming back from the break. In the meantime, getting some more of those comments and everything else. Getting back here after the break for more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. What you need to keep up your energy for whatever day's issues that you're tackling and are coming up on you on, what I turn to anyway, and I definitely like, is Clever Tea, KLEVRTEA, as in the stuff that you drink, because it's got a nice kick of energy that doesn't leave you feeling jittery. And even as we're looking at those whatever quote-unquote fall temperatures are going to be around here, an immunity boost is something that, well, I could always consider needing, and getting it this way is another good way to do it. But more specifically, being locally produced and all the good things that come with it, including its delicious blend of oolong tea, coconut, pineapple, hibiscus, eucalyptus, hawthorn berry, and cinnamon. You can also go out and see it and try it for yourself. They go out to farmers markets and other artisan markets around our area, specifically this weekend. They're going to be at the Country Club Farmers Market Friday and Saturday, Friday evening and Saturday, both morning and evening, and also then the Upper Valley Artisan Market on Sunday. And so if you want to go out, talk to Marco's an interesting dude. The way he came up with this and wanting to put this together is its own very unique story. But specifically ask him for the radio deal or the 690 deal, however you want to put it. Mention that you heard it here, and it'll give you one bottle free when you buy 3. So also you can find them online, clevertea.com. That's KLEVRT.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690. Watch out for heavy traffic on Paisano Drive northbound between Boone and Santa Fe Street. Also, there's an accident on the Loop 375 eastbound at Dyer Street. And watch out for a medical emergency that could cause some delays on Dyer Street northbound at Hondo Pass. You could try using Railroad and Wren Avenue to get around. I'm Marie Jourdain, and that's traffic.
This report is sponsored by DEA Takeback Day, October 23rd. DEATakeback.com.
Help DEA keep our community safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Takeback Day, October 23rd. Find a collection site near you at DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent drug misuse before it starts.
Hey folks, this is Andrew J. Polk. As the days get shorter, you don't want to get caught in the spooky situation of not knowing where to go to get quality medical care and services when you need it. From the routine to minor medical emergencies, my go-to is Dr. Alan Carpenter and his team at Upper Valley Urgent Care Center. From shots and testing to aches, sprains, breaks, and the rest of the unplanned parts of your day, they're at the ready with walk-ins accepted 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week at 121 East Red Road. Celebrating their 15th anniversary this fall, Upper Valley Urgent Care Center.
All right, let's introduce you to the TrustedLab.com. It's Teresa, and people are always asking what products I use. They want good recommendations. The TrustedLab.com have products for everyone. And it's a Texas company, lab-tested CBD, and made in America. So it's a no-brainer. This product is the best. I use their CBD to sleep better and just to worry less in life. And I notice I've been in a better mood, which I'm just figuring out. They've got fast shipping delivery right to your front door and a great online quiz to guide you to the perfect product right now. TheTrustedLab.com.
Imagine if you could buy a stock that tripled your money, guaranteed. You'd be a fool not to invest, right? That's why Representative Escobar must help pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Every new dollar spent on safer highways and transit returns more than triple the investment in jobs and economic activity. Investing in Texas means investing in transportation. Call 915-541-1400 to let Representative Escobar know we refuse to be left behind. Sponsored by the Transportation Construction Coalition and Americans for Transportation Mobility.
News Radio 690, KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A bunch of stuff we're talking about here today, both in court, future court stuff, I guess would be the right way to put it. Never ends. But also elections, because we're in the midst of one right now, in case you missed that bright little note here. We are in the regular 2021 November election here in Texas, but also going on in the regular local election and ballot issues going on in New Mexico as well. So pretty much anywhere in our broadcast area, you've got something going on in your ballot. So we've talked a good bit about what's going on, particularly with some of the El Paso and the Cañetillo ISD, which we'll probably be getting into a bit more. Maria Kalaman sharing her thoughts on that, saying, please get out and vote. And that the school district is going door to door on this. That's an important thing to keep in mind, is definitely getting out and vote and whatever you're supporting here. And I really got to say, there was a lot of talk during the last election about the whole blue wave and all that stuff that didn't materialize here in Texas. I got to wonder how much of that was because of, even in the political divide, of pretty much Democrats generally not going out and doing that kind of thing because of their views on policies during the pandemic and not wanting to go out. So that's a thought that's been in the back of my mind for a while now. So I'll actually be very interested to see in both these elections to a small extent and the ones that are coming up. We got primaries coming up early next year, spring next year, and then, of course, the general election and the midterms in next November. Going to be a busy electoral schedule again. Going to be very interested to see if anything materializes out of that because of that change. But that's just kind of my own little interest there. But I mean, and all the stuff going on here is also, we have Louis Panado, Epifiano Yanni, Maria Kalaman. Is it Louis Panado already? Anyway, a lot of people tuning in and chiming in and adding their 2 cents, including on school districts in general. So we've again talked about the Cañetillo CISDs, one that they've got about $187 million combined over 2 ballot issues there. But even up in New Mexico, they have their owns going on. Specifically, we have got all from the Las Cruces School District, Hatch Valley Public School District, and Gadsden Independent School District. So all of these, all 3 of these major districts that are, again, I think they're the major ones anyway, I will admit not quite as familiar with Doña Ana County's school districts, but definitely Las Cruces, the main one for the city of Las Cruces, has a up to $50 million bond issue on the ballot coming up here, not to exceed $50 million, and also keeping the property tax of $2 per 100 of 1,000 rather dollars, not the 100 that we see here in Texas, for in place through 2027. So those are the two major ones there. Hatch Valley looking at 1.8 million, and Gadsden looking at 38 million. So not as sizable as what CISD is looking at, but not an insignificant portion of it either. So this is why paying attention to what's going on in all of these systems is incredibly important there, along with just all the other offices. I'm just going to do a quick rundown here. Town of Mesilla has 3 seats going on. Village of Hatch, 3 seats. City of Anthony, 4 seats. City of Las Cruces, 3 seats. Sunland Park, 4 seats. Gadsden ISD, 3 board members. Hatch Valley, 2 board members. Las Cruces Public School, 3 board members. Doña Ana Soil and Water Conservation, 2 supervisor positions. Lower Rio Grande Public Water Works Authority, 4 director positions. Anthony Water and Sanitation District, 1 director. Caballo Soil and Water Conservation District, 2 supervisors. La Union, 1 chairman and 1 director. And McLeod Watershed District, never heard of that one before, 2 district supervisors. So there's a lot of stuff on that ballot in New Mexico, and I really hope I would be doing full-time research on that if I lived up there. But back specifically to those bond issues. Again, talked a bit about CISDs, and we'll be getting more into that probably in the next week or so here, hearing from the district. But so specifically for Las Cruces school districts, all of these, just for the main one here, Las Cruces school district, the main one for it. So keeping that in place, what they're looking at for that bond of about $500,000, and then keeping, $50 million, and then for a house that averages about $200,000, best I could find for a median price in Las Cruces, that they're looking at about, with that tax rate, keeping that in place, because they are authorized to continue to impose a property tax of $2 per each $1,000 of net taxable value of property through 2027. That would be about $400 a year is what it ends up coming out to, which is a big change and big difference from when it comes down to what we see here, of course, on the Texas side of things. But they also have a property tax up there, so don't think that they're getting off not even just property tax, an income tax on top of the property tax. So and not all the bite comes out of one area. But so to put that in perspective and what it means without a property tax here in Texas, did some quick calculations. So the Canutillo Independent School District currently has a tax rate of 1.34 per $100 valuation. So if the numbers aren't matching up, knock a 0 off of what they're mentioning of the valuation calculations up in Cruces, and that's what you're looking at for Canutillo. So the differences and the numbers I could find on what is actually the valuations looking at Canutillo, because Canutillo, the older parts of it had, lower valuations, but the newer stuff, the stuff that's been coming in, particularly around like the Reyes Elementary School and all that stuff, there are some high-end developments going on. So give a couple of a swath of here. We're going to look at a similar type of valuation of about $200K. That house in the Canutillo Independent School District, particularly if they are able to follow through on what they're promising of keeping the tax rates level, would be about $2,680 per year. So that's the difference between Texas and New Mexico. So that's for a $200,000 home, for a $300,000 home, of which there are plenty going up within the Canutillo Independent School District, because Canutillo basically goes from more or less the outlet malls just a bit north and from the river to Anthony's Nose is really what it comes down to. So a $300,000 home would go for just over $4,000 in taxes, in school district property taxes a year based on that. So it's significant and worth watching specifically. So this is what I try to bring it home, that people think, what is another bond that they're going to do, or maybe I don't like, whatever. Why should I care? This is why you should care, because if you care about these numbers and the fact that they're going to come directly out of your pocketbook, and even if you don't live in these districts, because Las Cruces, it has 100,000 people in it and around the area, plus certainly amount of people there, and Canutillo not quite as big, but I would bet you rather that other districts are watching these very closely. That's one of the reasons we asked the questions when we had the El Paso area school board elections, which, again, just as a gentle, calming reminder, 3% turnout. Again, I need to get that tattooed on my forehead, because I'm never going to stop talking about that until we do away with it in memory by doing better in the meantime. So yes, get out and vote. Abso-freaking-lutely. Same time, those districts, we asked all those candidates what was their thoughts on future tax rates and bonds. And you can, of course, go back and see those. Those are mainly over on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, because, yeah, those considerations are already going on right now. Amongst other things, even CISD and talking about Canutillo was talking about what happened with the previous bond, what's going on with those rates. These are all always in motion. So if you think that it's, well, it's not my district, it's not where I live, I don't have to worry about it, I got to disagree with you. Just because it's going to come up, and seeing the performance of these is going to cause tweaks with how the rest of it works here, even as we've got other school board and district things going on at the meantime, particularly within the El Paso Independent School District, including reporting going on from our news partners about consternation on a couple of fronts, really. They're looking at hiring more than 100. I think it was like somewhere between 100 and 150 substitute teachers right now because of a drastic shortage that is being faced there. I mean, that's several schools worth. I mean, just regular population there, not even just fill-in. So that's its own issue. And of course, the fact that we've had a restart of the whole superintendent search and the consternation and concern that comes along with that. So Kevin Williams putting it very succinctly, what is wrong with letting 3% of the population speak for you, accept everything? I guess that's pretty indicative of my perspective on it as well. There was no one on the ballot in my area where I live, unfortunately. Otherwise, you bet your butt I would have been voting in that one, because this is the important stuff, and all the things that are coming out as a part of it here is, all the issues that are coming up, particularly about school boards and school districts. You better have been going out to vote on this. Like I said, I've been like this close at certain points of saying that please submit your voter registration card to be able to comment on the show, because I'm fed up with it. I don't know about you all, but the fact that we can't get people to turn out worth a darn here. And yes, the whole conversation about, well, we want, people to be informed about it, but at the same time, then we need to work better on getting people informed about it and activated. And I put no small part of onus of that responsibility upon the local parties, which, when it really comes down to it, unless they're involved with it, if the individual person is involved with it, doing with it, I gotta say that most people I talk to kind of don't even consider the local parties when it comes to it, which is not a normal thing. It really isn't. It's one of those El Paso bubble things, and one thing that I would absolutely love to see change, because, well, we gotta be doing something. Anyway, all right, coming up on the need for a break here, but coming back from the break, we'll get into more of these issues and open up the phone lines as well to get into the discussion on this. Again, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot to talk about and a lot more we'll get into after the break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Another thing to keep in mind as you're going about your day and considering these big decisions that we talk about is what to do if you find yourself in the situation of a minor medical emergency. Because you got to think about it beforehand, because they don't come up on your schedule. Otherwise, you could put it on your calendar and then maybe avoid that, sprained ankle 3 p.m. kind of situation. But it doesn't work that way. So you got to know where to go. And where I go when I find myself in those situations, for me and my family, it's Dr. Carpenter and his team at Upper Valley Urgent Care Center, 121 East Red Road, because they've got the resources and facilities and availability. No appointments needed, walk-in basis, 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So even as these days are getting shorter, they will be there the nights, weekends, and holidays that you need them to be for everything from testing, vaccines, sniffles, aches, sprains, breaks, bruises, x-ray capabilities, 20-plus exam rooms, and 50th anniversary. Plus, don't forget about their VA-authorized urgent care provider status that can honestly make it a big difference for those in that community as well. So again, 121 East Red Road, Upper Valley Urgent Care Center.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Justin Creed, your CBS 4 News Update. El Paso Electric wants to charge more on your monthly bill, and City Council is working to stop them. City Council voted to deny El Paso Electric's rate proposal, under which the average customer would have seen a 13% increase to their usage charge. The proposal from the El Paso Electric would have increased the residential usage charge by an average of 13%, which comes out to about $10. Plus, everyone would have seen a 28% increase to the monthly customer charge. That comes out to another $2.29. The city will now work to negotiate a settlement with the El Paso Electric, but if the two cannot come up to an agreement, the case will go to the Public Utility Commission in January. El Paso police are investigating this morning after a man was stabbed in central El Paso on Wednesday. It happened off of Liam McGoffin. Police say the man was stabbed and taken to University Medical Center yesterday afternoon. They are still piecing together what happened. We will update you when more information becomes available, both on air and online at cbs4local.com. With your CBS 4 News Update, I'm Justin Cree.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Watch out for an accident that has Dyer Street southbound closed at Trans Mountain East at Dyer Street. Also, there's abnormal congestion on Interstate 110 from the 54 to Juarez Port of Entry. And look out for some stop-and-go traffic on the 54 southbound between Montana Avenue and the 10. I'm Marie Jourdain, and that's traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. We continue to deal with some fairly nice fall-like weather, but those temperatures, well, they're just slightly above normal. Normal this time of the year is in the upper 70s. We'll continue to see temperature highs going into the weekend in the lower to mid 80s. We are expecting a temperature drop early next week into Wednesday as a cold front moves in, but we're also looking for more winds.
This report is sponsored by Sanofi Pasteur.
It takes two vaccines to help protect you this season, the flu and COVID-19. And now you can get both shots at the same visit. Learn more at cdc.gov/vaccines.
Sponsored by Sanofi Pasteur.
The October Muster used car sales event is on. Right now at Casa Buick GMC. Yeah, it's going on right now. A sale so scary good that you'll scream. One owner trades, lease returns, and we've dug up some unique specimens just for you.
Like this 2015 Mustang, 24,877, or this 2019 Toyota Tundra, 58,777, or wow, this 2020 Yukon Denali for 61,877.
Financing through more than 20 banks and credit unions. Buy here, pay your financing by La Casita.
The October used car monster sales event is on right now at Casa Buick GMC at Airway by the airport.
Are you covered by Medicare and Medicaid? Well, El Paso Health Plus is the plan for you. As a local Medicare Advantage plan, we can offer our members more. Call us at 833-742-3125 or ephmedicare.com. El Paso Health Plus.
Help DEA keep our community safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Takeback Day, October 23rd. Find a collection site near you at deatakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent drug misuse before it starts.
This report is sponsored by DEA Takeback Day, October 23rd. DEATakeback.com.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Another thing to keep in mind as you're going about your day and wondering how to navigate our complex medical system is to make sure to tune in every Saturday at noon to Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao, because he gets into the latest medical innovations and the information coming out about all the issues that we're going and often checking with a little bit of the news, but even then just diving into particularly the minimally invasive procedures that he's really specialized in, because staying on top of this is important, and really knowing what to know, being an informed consumer of medical services, as weird as that may sound, is more important than ever to be, advocating for yourself, which we talk about a decent amount. You can also submit your own questions to him by emailing rao@medicalhackers.com. That's RAO at medicalhackers.com, and be sure to tune in again this Saturday at noon right after the El Paso History Radio Show here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on social media, including the Facebook page, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and more, possibly. Talk El Paso also brought to you in part by Monterey Asset Management. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, consider investing in real estate. Monterey manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. Check out their new website, m1ep.com, for more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate. Again, that's m1ep.com, and call certified property manager Ray Baca at 915-592-4549. That's 592-4549. Thank you to our show sponsors. Please support them as they support us in our mission to have live local talk radio back in the borderland, because we think we deserve it. So talking a bit about some of those issues going on with what's going on the ballot here, Calvin Williams making a decent point about, particularly in these technically nonpartisan positions. And it's always been kind of interesting to me whenever we encounter, people who have the not necessarily accurate view, in my mind, of that people, particularly in non-partisan positions, using partisan framework is cheating in some way. And the reason I'm a little confused by that, because that's another one of those kind of El Paso bubble things, because just because you can't say put the letter by your name on the ballot in certain elections doesn't mean that infrastructure doesn't work for you. And in fact, in most other places that I've lived in, worked in, have people that have discussed their local political systems with, that's how it works. So honestly, smart candidates in our area are already doing that and leveraging that. So to say that shouldn't be, I mean, it can tell you a little bit about the background as well, but always, again, looking at the policies is certainly important here. But also Maria Coleman adding that when people do not vote, a small population determines your property tax rate, which is fun. Many of us have no children or grandchildren attending schools. Certainly a possibility there, but you bet you're paying those tax rates from where you live. I mean, it's to a point where even just looking at which district or which, school district, areas, the different entities, taxing entities that cover you is something like I'm looking at as the potential of purchasing a house myself here. And that's why I got to also kind of disagree with Louis Pinato when it comes down to the kind of landed owners being the only one to vote here. That just does not make sense in the day and age, because it's not like property owners absorb all of the costs. They certainly pass it on to their renters. And if you want to then end up buying it, again, rights don't have a retail associated with them. In fact, one of those cases that helped end that process was actually decided based on here in El Paso, and actually, I believe, involving EPCC back in the day, based on that exact reasoning, made it up to the Supreme Court here. But yeah, and another point, just a good one from Calvin Williams. The more before they can ever ask for spending, they should show where it's been going and how it's been working out. EPISD has been working decently on that, like drive by some of the schools that they have going on. They have a little board in front, so at least they're making the attempt, even if it's maybe not as satisfying to some. But Epifanio Yanni putting on another one, Epifanio Yanni, saying that that's how we end up with quality of life projects such as the ballpark, baseball park, civic center, Mexican Cultural Center. You do include the trolley in there, which I will just point out, just for accuracy's sake, was not on that bond project, came from some separate funding that came out of the state of Texas, kind of meant to be used for light rail, probably should have been used for light rail, but that's a separate issue. But again, getting to call us on the line here as well, as we'll take to the end of the hour. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Right now we do have Raul in the Northeast on the line. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. I recall you saying that you prefer to focus on a candidate's policies and track record rather than on their personality.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly about that. But it was Republicans who used to say that character counted and that morality mattered and that they voted based on these values. And that's why I'm an independent. I voted for third-party candidates or not at all than the times I voted for Democratic presidential candidates. But I'm also proud to say that I've never voted for the party that gave us Nixon, Reagan, Bush #2, and now Trump. And, sadly, millions of voters couldn't spot a serial, pathological liar and fool when they heard and read what he said. So let's focus on Trump's policies and promises kept and broken. He only passed one bill in his 4 years, a giant tax cut for the super rich that added $2 trillion to the national debt. And it didn't help the 60% of Americans who cannot come up with $1,000 in case of an emergency without having to sell something or borrow the money. Or how about how he's going to repeal and replace Obamacare? with Trump Care, with lower premiums, lower deductibles, lower co-pays, and coverage for all, including those with pre-existing conditions. Didn't happen. Or how about how he was going to make Mexico pay for the wall? That was delusional from the get-go. Or how he was going to force North Korean dictator Kim to denuclearize. Didn't happen either, and crazy Trump ended up falling in love with him. Or how he's going to deport 11 million immigrants working illegally in the country. Another fantastical lie. Or how he was going to bring our troops home from abroad. Didn't happen. Promises made, promises broken. Or how he was going to make everyone wealthy again. Guess what? Most Americans have never been wealthy. Or how he was going to make America great again. He didn't. He made America sicker, poorer, and more divided.
I mean, okay, you got a couple things here that are really baffling to me. I'm really not sure where you're getting that one bill passed. I mean, just as a quick, even just Google search while you're asking here, that he signed 97 laws in 2017. And no, this does not include executive orders. So I'm not quite sure where you're getting that only one here. I mean, frankly, if it was only one, I would assume that people of your particular political persuasion would be celebrating that there was so little done, and yet we're talking about all this action that happened here. And when it comes to Afghanistan particularly, I mean, and removing stuff from overseas, we have literally hundreds, if not thousands, of bases and other facilities around the world. Wouldn't have been realistic to suggest that they're all coming back. And frankly, the trajectory set under the previous administration then followed through on, or not in some people's cases in this current one here. So again, you say that you like character counts as an idea, but also that looking at policy counts here, but you do seem to be ignoring a good amount of them. And even if Mexico didn't physically fork over dollars to pay for a wall, you bet your butt that they paid in their own way to do their own virtual one, the entire stand-up and reconfiguration of what went on with the Guardia Nacional, or the Mexican National Guard, was absolutely related to that. So you're kind of losing me on a whole lot of the analysis here. And again, get that you don't like the guy. That part comes through decently often. So, but getting the facts right are an important part of what we're having in any of these discussions here, and why I'd also tend to point those particular parts out. So that's I think that's an important thing to keep in mind whenever we're looking at this. You can disagree with them all if you want, but when we get to the hyperbole, the exaggeration, and the not actually looking at what happened, we're just not having a discussion about the factors and facts there anymore. So otherwise, I mean, thank you for the points in the call, but got to disagree with you on several of them here. All right, coming up on the need for a break here right now. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM, because there's a lot of important things to discuss here, and more discussion going on about other things, including the bond and and the fact that it is not 2017, as Juan and Michael Calvin Williams are saying there. I mean, this is something that it's important to keep in mind here. So again, taking that break here real quick, coming back from the break, getting into more of the issues, more of the things going on here. And again, take those calls. That number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. It is October for the rest of the month anyway, and that means it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So what that means is that as you're thinking about taking care of things in your life, all these priorities that we talk about all the time, you don't want to neglect this aspect of your health. And so in support of that, Therapeutics and Thermography Inc. inside Biometrics at 935 Sunland Park Drive, which is just down the hill from Sunland Park Mall on the other side of I-10, really easy to see. They're offering $50 off all their breast thermograms. And thermography is an interesting technology that is getting back in our area, as recent callers have mentioned, because it's another tool that you can use, another arsenal in your cabinet that you can use to help track your health, and specifically when it comes to breast cancer awareness, identify things, well, before other methods necessarily even could. So you can give them a call at 915-401-4053, 915-401-4053 to find out more for yourself and schedule your appointment and claim that $50 off all breast thermograms through the end of the month, or find them online at elpasothermography.com. That's El Paso, THERMOGRAPHY.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Watch out for some slow-moving traffic on the 10 westbound between Wyoming Avenue and Santa Fe. Also, there's still some heavy traffic on Zaragoza northbound between George Dieter and Montana Avenue. And there's construction that has 2 lanes closed on Mesa Street southbound between Sunland Park and Brentwood Avenue. I'm Marie Jourdain, and that's traffic.
This report is sponsored by Sanofi Pasteur.
It takes 2 vaccines to help protect you this season, the flu and COVID-19. And now you can get both shots at the same visit. Learn more at cdc.gov/vaccines.
Sponsored by Sanofi Pasteur.
El Paso Children's Hospital invites experienced registered nurses and new nurse graduates to an open house job fair Thursday, October 28th from 4:30 to 8 p.m. Learn about their pediatric specialty clinics and how El Paso Children's Hospital are able to provide the region's highest level of pediatric care. Now offering sign-on bonuses of up to $20,000, relocation assistance, and more. Call 915-242-8680. El Paso Children's Hospital is an equal opportunity employer. El Paso Children's Hospital, this is our hospital.
Take control of your health and stay on top of the latest medical innovations by tuning in every Saturday at noon to Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao, board-certified vascular interventionalist with healthcare hacks to help you navigate our complex medical system and insights on treatments for common medical problems weekly on News Radio 690 KTSM. Have a question for the doc? Submit them ahead of the show by emailing rao@medicalhackers.com. That's Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao. Coming this Saturday at noon right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
TheTrustedLab.com carries CBD made in America with the highest quality products. Get your CBD from a Texas company at TheTrustedLab.com. Great alternative to addictive drugs, plus it's lab-tested clean CBD. It's what I use. TheTrustedLab.com.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Takeback Day, October 23rd. Find a collection site near you at DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent drug misuse before it starts.
Monterey Asset Management, superior multifamily property management services citywide.
Stay informed at KTSMradio.com. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Bunch of stuff we're talking about here today, including bonds, elections, how you consider those items and such, as well as taking those calls. The number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Again, take any callers, particularly as we come up on Friday. Don't forget that's coming, because we actually got a full slate here right now, and we'll take on any call, any subject on Friday. Usually try to keep it a little slightly, maybe even just in my mind, locally focused during the week, but as we reach the weekend, open it up there. So don't forget about that. But also don't forget about the pound 250 system, which you can leave a message of your own consideration and what you want to talk about there. Going to get your foot in the door here, because we'll play them during this segment on most days when they come in here. So again, you do that by calling pound 250 on your cell phone, pound 250, all 4 of those symbols, and then say the keyword Talk El Paso when prompted. You leave your own message like this.
This is Basia Frankie. I just wanted to gleefully share with everybody my great love of Schadenfreude, specific to Sleeve Bannon guy. That's deep doo-doo relative to what happened on January the 6th. I'm loving it. Just big time Schadenfreude. All right? Now, my question is, why is this guy so butt ugly? I mean, he looks like a 20-year veteran of Skid Row in one of the worst cities of the world. I can't imagine where. And then you've got that horrible woman from Georgia, Muggery Taylor Greene. Okay? I mean, why is it that these conservative kooks are all so butt ugly? They look like they all inherited DNA from Quasimodo, for crying out loud. What? They don't have any soap, water? They're so poor they can't afford a shower? My God, that's disgusting people.
Again, one of the reasons that I like talking about policies more than anything else, though I do think that Bannon is in maybe deeper water than he thinks, because even the whole argument happening over what's going on with executive privilege, all that kind of stuff, that'll probably end up in courts or being litigated again. Who knows? Nothing doesn't these days. But very specifically, that he wasn't covered by some of the recent actions being done by Donald Trump there. So I think he's in bigger trouble than some of the other was involved in that story. But let's get to at least a couple more calls on the line here. We do have Andrew on the west side right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to refute something that Raul character said. You know, there's no substance to what he says, but during the Trump era, there was $465 billion in repatriated cash that was stored in banks overseas. $465 billion that was brought into the United States, you know, lowering the tax rate from a record 35%. Now that's no chump change. That's money that's being reinvested here, and there's a lot more that could have been brought back in. But now, picture this new banking law that the Biden administration wants to put in place. Transactions of $600 or more, and now they want to raise it to $10,000. Well, just remember, folks, everything costs money, which means you're going to have higher service fees on your checking, savings, and even money market certificates. So if you're going to cite something on the air, make sure you have something to sort to back it up from. And that goes to that no substance individual from Mesilla Valley. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure thing. Important points to bring up there. I've heard two interesting points. Hey, there's the whole thing about, no, it's not actually every transaction. It's just the balances coming in and out. It's not really a meaningful distinction the way that is getting talked about there, that I haven't even brought it up, but that's one of the talking points out there. The second one, and more interesting part of analysis, frankly, that I think is going on with that, is that it might not even be useful in its own. The stated goals of that whole $600 thing is about making sure that people are paying their taxes, essentially. That I think the $600 was selected because that's the level at which you have to file a 1099 not a tax lawyer, this is not legal advice, but that is, to my understanding, that's the threshold. So they're looking for anything trying to swipe in under a low transaction level and not go into that. Why are you focusing on the people who are only making 600? So the whole moving to maybe 10,000, I think, is an important example of how consternation of the public, people being unhappy with the way things are going, can get things done. But at the same point, there's also an idea of too much information. Literally everything you do is online in some way these days. I don't care if you only pay cash, that is being reflected in some way that can be looked at towards for you. But usually, unless you've made yourself into a figure of some kind, trying to sort through that and identify you specifically is almost impossible, just because the amount of data out there. So this adding another order of magnitude of every major transaction would just be almost useless, is the more interesting analysis that I've heard there. So again, thank you for that point in that call. Trying to get to at least one more here this hour. We do have Mario on the east side. Mario, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew, for taking my call. Yeah, I want to make a couple of comments, sir.
Sure.
That person who was called earlier, and of course, he has no facts, trying to, really put down Trump on every aspect that we can imagine. But first of all, I want to be able to just kind of say a couple of points. Like, for instance, he did make America safer. He closed the borders, not for immigration, but for illegal immigration. He did made America safer. He did make America wealthier, because you know what? He mentioned that the tax cut was only for the rich people. That's not true. Regular Americans like me, who have a regular job, have more money in my pocket. My son, my wife, were bringing in more money because of the tax cut of Trump. It has nothing to do with just with the wealthy. So once again, that was another point that he did not have facts. Another point that I want to make, very important too, is the fact that when we have government grow, which Biden wants to do, then people have less liberty and freedom. The bigger the government, the less freedom people have. Biden has cut, for instance, the fossil fuels. With one signature, he killed 11,000 jobs. Now we're becoming more dependent on our energy with Saudi Arabia or OPEC. That really, that's why we have an inflation. It seems like this guy can't see that. I mean, buying milk is more expensive. Buying eggs is more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
There's 1,000 things that we can do from petroleum. Well, Biden is in war against petroleum, and is only going to, I guess, make things worse. This guy, I mean, his hatred for Trump has blinded his mind. He has no facts. He just has hatred, and he'll just say whatever he feels. He's going to defend Biden and hate Trump no matter what because he can't see the facts.
I don't necessarily disagree with you on any particular point there is what I'll say. And why, again, looking at the impact of them, again, you can hate a dude up and down, but if you're not talking about what the actual impacts are, then it's just, your personal dislike. And that's not something I vote on at the very least. So thank you for that point in that call. We'll have to leave it there for today because we are out of time here for this program. So I want to thank everyone who did call in, comment, participate, be a part of the show. We'll do it again tomorrow, 4 to 5 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM with calls throughout the hour. So if we're unable to get in, we'll get more of those pound 50 calls as well. All of that. See you tomorrow. Look twice for motorcycles and out on the road. And have a great evening, y'all. See you tomorrow. Back with another Medicare moment, we have Eric with Advocate Health Advisors. If a veteran has original Medicare only, why would they want a Medicare Advantage plan?
Well, firstly, any Medicare Advantage plan is required to have everything that original Medicare offers. Additional benefits are offered throughout most plans, including, but not limited to, things like dental, hearing, transportation, gym memberships, and over-the-counter benefits, just to name a few. Now, additionally, with original Medicare, there's no cap on the 20% of the bill that veteran would be responsible for. Every Advantage plan comes with a maximum out-of-pocket, after which the plan picks up 100% of the cost for that veteran.
For more detail on this and info on that, you can call Eric, your local advisor, wherever you're hearing this broadcast at 1-800-876-0214. That's 1-800-876-0214.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Watch out for abnormal congestion on Interstate 110 from the 54 to Juarez Port of Entry. Also, there's some stop-and-go traffic to look out for on the 54 southbound between Montana Avenue and the 10. And there's a medical emergency that could cause some delays on the 10 eastbound at Red Road. I'm Marie Jourdain, and that's traffic.
The October Monster Used Car Sales Event